All right, cool. Says we're live. So let me see. All right, cool. I think we're live.
Awesome.
So maybe do you want to handle the introduction for the first one, or you want me to?
I can start it off. Dallas, I have not seen you forever.
It's been a while.
It's nice to see you. Our story goes back several years. You used to live in Rochester, right?
That's right.
And I've grown an extreme passion for commercial real estate, as I'm sure you've seen kind of in the digital world. And where we shared, it seemed like common passions is just marketing. And I'm interested to hear about what you're doing in the marketing scene and what you're now doing in Arizona, where you moved to. So tell me more about yourself and let's catch up.
Yeah, so you're right. I'm from Rochester. I don't exactly remember how we connected. I know that we first the meeting was set at the Cube. I do remember that kicked things off. From there is basically a match made in heaven. We locally owned a restaurant together. I had the clothing company, a lot of other random stuff. Now I'm down in Arizona. I kind of shifted from that entrepreneurial lifestyle of trying to survive every single day to now client services, working within an agency. I've actually worked for a few agencies down here between Scottsdale and Tempe and Chandler, Arizona. So I've actually seen a lot in just the 3-ish years that I've been here. So it's cool. The reason that we decided to put this together is because I think there's a cool blend of you have you're in commercial real estate, but you're very personal brand driven, focusing a lot on how to build your own personal brand. And I'm focused on how to build other businesses and other people's brands more behind the scenes as not the face of the brand. So I felt like this was a cool kind of collision to play on the name of the whole thing of those two worlds. So I think it's, I guess, kind of moving into what I'm doing. It's every day just trying to educate business owners. Some are clients, other clients that aren't ours, trying to steal clients, just random people, just still, even in the year 2016, talking about why social and digital is important to businesses. There's still so many legacy companies that just don't get it. They don't want to get it. They want to completely ignore it. But if they continue to do that, it will swallow their businesses up. It happens every single day to people with huge checkbooks. So it's something I'm super passionate about, something you're doing every day. So yeah, so I don't know.
What's the hashtag we got going on, just so I make sure I get this hashtag right?
I just went against all things and invented one. It's hashtag digital CRE, digital CRE.
Digital CRE. All right, perfect. I'm posting it on Twitter. This is a story that I share with others, and it kind of, I think, shows into how your mind works related to marketing. So you're in Rochester, you're doing your entrepreneurial thing, you're using the internet to the advantage to build a brand. That's where we shared in our passions and something we had in common. And you wanted to get a job at an ad agency, and from what I remember, you pulled out ads against Gary Vaynerchuk's name to try to catch his attention to hopefully maybe get a job with his Vayner Media. Is that right?
Yeah, that was actually the first time I did that. I was just in Rochester. I didn't really know how to enter into that world. So yeah, I bought out Gary Vaynerchuk's name around their office in New York City to kind of put a fence around it. So if anybody searched his name in New York City, they'd see an ad that said, Dallas McLaughlin, Gary Vaynerchuk, hire me. And it didn't work, but I actually did that same exact strategy when I moved to Scottsdale, and that's actually how I'm working at the agency I work at right now. Is I took up pay-per-click ads on the CEO of this agency's name and the name of the agency, and fenced within 0.35 miles of the agency, and took a day or two, and their social media girl actually Googled their own name, saw my ad, brought them out to a landing page with my face on it, said I want to come work for you, and that's pretty much all it took. So that's where I'm at now. It's been awesome. A lot of companies, I did it for a few companies, And there was other ones that saw it and they were like, that's weird. That doesn't make sense. What, like, this is stupid. Stop doing that. And that was cool from my point of view, because that's perfect. Because I don't want to work for that kind of agency either. So this agency that was like, that's awesome. We get it. That's how I knew it was the right place.
And I guess one question that comes to mind, and we can try to dive into it, and this is where the collision happens, is like, where can commercial real estate agents use ad agency mentality strategies to advance their business, improve sales, improve the brokerage they're a part of, improve their personal brand? And I'm sure there's a million things that you can do, and that's what you've been learning. So that's where I'm looking forward to learning more about that, because about myself and what I'm doing, I'm pushing my personal brand, and there's strategy behind the platforms, and there's strategy behind some of the content I push out. But when it comes to strategy, like in-depth strategy, one, there's not an extreme budget, just because I haven't allocated money towards that. And two, I don't even know where to begin. I got to focus on the norm of a commercial real estate agent's job. And so I'm excited to see what the conversation leads to, of what you think I could be doing or others could be doing. So.
Yeah, so I guess the way I usually address that is there's three kind of simple, super simplified buckets I put things into when I'm trying to figure out what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. The three buckets would be, first, I just try to build as much awareness about anything that I can. So that's just old traditional mass media for businesses with larger budgets. That includes things like TV, radio, billboards, print, just completely untargeted. Shoot it out there, get your name in front of people. So that's kind of step one. Step two, so we have awareness one. Step two is education. So that's where it's in the consumer's hand. That's when they go online. They look at your social media, they look at your website, they look at basically anything they can find about you or the business. The consumer owns that. That's the chance that they get to take that purchase path back. It's the first time, I would say the last 10 years is the first time the consumers ever had control over the section in the middle. It used to just be businesses completely controlled it. Businesses controlled the message. They put out the billboard, they put out the print. The consumer really had no chance to review things beyond asking their neighbor or somebody. But now, because of Google, because of Facebook and Twitter and Yelp, the consumer has full control. So the real estate agents, the businesses, the ones that can win in that phase two, that education phase that the consumer owns, those are the agencies that are building trust. So they're relevant to what's going on right now. They actually are providing value up front versus gating all this content behind some sort of call me now or schedule a demo or consultation. The consumers want as much as they can before that final stage, which is actually the phone call, or it's the email. It's something where they actually reach out. So much of the purchase path is now decided in that middle chunk that businesses are freaking out, the ones that don't get it, because they're investing so heavily in step one and then completely falling flat on their face in step two, and step three, it doesn't happen for them anymore. The ones that are, I would say, reallocating from step one, the awareness, into the things like social media, where the consumer can learn their brand on their own time in an environment that they're comfortable in without the pressure of having to make a decision. Those are the brands that are seeing the highest conversions once they get to that close, that step three, that final conversion event. So
when you say they can win in step two, in your mind, what is an example of winning? Give maybe a few examples of winning in step two. Positive review, obviously, is probably one of them, but what's other examples?
So if we actually go through this actual how it used to work. So if you think about it, like dad's watching TV, dad sees a TV commercial for a digital camera. Dad needs a digital camera, so dad goes to Best Buy. He's greeted by some guy that's selling digital cameras, and he has to decide right then, do I want this camera or not, and then purchase. So he doesn't have a lot of control. But now, over the last 10 years, what dad does is dad still sees that commercial. That commercial still has value because that's the trigger. That's what makes them think, I do need that digital camera. But instead of getting in his car and going to Best Buy, he pulls out his laptop and he Googles and he types in the model number. He sees all the reviews. He looks on social media. He posts on his own Facebook, asks friends for their recommendations. So if that business doesn't have a solid product, isn't using social cues to build engagement, isn't doing any kind of reputation management in that middle phase, if their search is poor, if they're getting outranked in search by a competitor, or their social media is totally out of date, they can lose. So they paid for a huge expensive commercial, dropped the ball in the middle, and left it sitting there for somebody who can't afford that commercial, but can own that free space in the middle and take that dad's dollar bill at the end, because maybe the friends didn't review that commercial camera very well, but they reviewed some other camera, some new startup's camera and some new technology, who then set up some email campaigns and just followed that guy with retargeting ads. It's really simple. What we see, so we work at our agency with smaller clients that don't always have the national budgets. We do have some that have the national budgets, but I see spikes in searches following a competitor's TV commercial or radio advertisement. So competitors are spending huge money for people to have these online searches and go through this research process, where I'm then stealing that traffic. So
is that like growth hacking, or what's the terminology for that? Trying to make it, is it just hacking, like straight up stealing, or what would you call that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yes and no. I think it's these businesses who have these huge budgets to invest in TV and radio, they're neglecting the middle for these smaller, more agile companies to, yes, steal that traffic for a penny on the dollar. If you're spending $30,000 to make a TV commercial and then another $100,000 to put it on TV for $2 a click, I can take that traffic if you leave that avenue open. A lot of people think it ends at the commercial, but there's so much that happens. They say, I don't have the number off the top of my head. Maybe I'll link it down below if we can like be cool YouTube people and do this thing now. I don't have the number, but I know it's something like 93% of all purchases are impacted by a search. So if you're neglecting search, if you're showing up on page 2, you're completely wasting your money on that TV commercial, and you need to stop.
So real quick, I want to take it and try to relate it to commercial real estate. So what I'm seeing is how I built my business is thanks to the internet. LoopNet, as I like to call them, and they probably don't like this, the mafia of inventory online. If you go to Google and I look up Phoenix, Arizona commercial real estate, Rochester, Minnesota commercial real estate, LoopNet owns #1, and they pay for the ad spot. And the reason they own #1 is they have the inventory. I put a lot of small listings in our market on there when no one else was posting online. And ultimately that led to me looking like I was the biggest fish in the sea, because I was the only guy at the time online. So consumers who are looking for commercial real estate are now going to Google, instead of what they used to maybe do is call a real estate agent directly. And they go to Google, they see LoopNet, they then see realtors within commercial real estate brokers or agents within LoopNet. And then from there, once they've identified a space they like, they either send an email or they will call. LoopNet has been very smart at positioning themselves as #1. What I've started to do is not only be trying to be #1 on LoopNet, because now the competition has gone to LoopNet, but also be relevant on other platforms. So Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, of course, and I'm not hitting my Facebook as hard as I would want, but do you see that middle bucket probably for commercial real estate? We don't have Yelp, right? So where is the middle bucket for commercial real estate? Is it something where they're coming to the personality and they're making sure they relate, they engage, they want to conversate, they're hitting them up on other channels? Like, what would you say in commercial real estate is possibly that middle bucket?
What I would say, and I think I probably told you this years ago, and you probably did it because you're really good at taking ideas and actually doing them, where everybody else just talks about them. But what I would do just off the top of my head is, if I was in a city like Rochester, and I know Rochester very well because that's where I'm from too, and it's kind of like an overgrown big city, or kind of like an overgrown small city. So it's It still is very small mentality, but it's big enough that you can make a killing in that city. So what I would do is I would still invest in that mass media and still go where the competitors are, because you need to still be in that conversation.
Yeah.
But I would do something. I would start a blog, and I would follow every sporting event in town, every new business acquisition, every rumor mill thing that's going on, your ideas. All you're really after at this point is attracting eyeballs. If you have eyeballs, eventually those eyeballs turn into engagement, they turn into networking contacts, they turn into leads eventually, and then conversions. So whatever you can do to be the guy in Rochester, and I know you do a super good job of it with your Snapchat and your Facebook, Instagram, I've seen your live Facebook videos. Basically, if you can own your space as the guy, what ends up happening is someone does do a search online. They hit LoopNet just because they own it. They do some searches on LoopNet, and they're like, yeah, this all looks good. Let me call the Rochester guy that I know. That's Bucky. And so it works really well for you. You might not get that you might not be part of that initial research phase, which is fine, because then you don't have the cost of having to compete there. But you get them when they're a super warm, ready to convert lead. The wallet's on the table, they're ready to go. They pick up the phone and call you because you've given them so much value and so much insight over the years. They know that you're the guy.
Right. And I think you hit it right on the head, is like the guy, the girl within your market. If you can become that person within that niche, and mine is commercial real estate, it could be high-end homes, it could be whatever. Mine's commercial real estate, and I've digitally become the guy. If you were to go to Google in some fashion, or Twitter, or whatever the case may be, that can add a lot to your bottom line. That can add a lot to your business. That can help you grow exponentially. How would you do that in a tougher market? Phoenix, Arizona, population's not 120,000 like Rochester. What the heck do I have to do to try to become the personality there? Like, I get it. I can start a Facebook, I can start a Twitter, but like actually get after it and do it. What's the strategy in that sense?
So I would say if you're looking mass in Phoenix, it's probably not worth your money or the time that it takes to do that. What I would do is exactly like what you said, is find as narrow of a niche as you can find. What I've always said is if you can find a niche, you can find an entire nation around that niche. So if you're not familiar with the area, but if you're a high-end real estate agent, I would say I'm the Camelback Mountain, north side of the mountain real estate agent, and I know every single house. I know every lot number, the dimensions of the lot, the square footage. I know every single thing there is to know about these lots in North Camelback Mountain or North Scottsdale or Ahwatukee or wherever it happens to be. I wouldn't worry so much about Phoenix and appealing to everybody. I would say I'm the person that sells the houses that are $1.2 to $1.3 million. And I know the exact house for you, and I've got a whole entire website that is built with that theme and has that messaging that carries over to my Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter. Like, I'm that guy. If you're interested in houses that are only $1 million, call this guy, because that's not me. So I think there's too much noise and too much static in a place like this to try to take all of the leads. I would just be that one guy. And you can find those people. The way you would find those people is you would target people that are already maybe living in homes that are $1 million and they're ready to move up. So I would just plaster their Facebooks, every search they do, every website they visit, I would cover them in ads. So it's basically like the movie Inception. You just plant an idea in their head that $1 million home's not good enough. They need to be the $1.2 million home on Camelback Mountain because quality of life is just so much better. Marketing and ethics and advertising aren't always aligned. But it's business, and business is aggressive, and you can make people make decisions and make them make the decision that favors you through creative advertising and marketing.
Right. And so now again, I'm going to relate it to commercial real estate. It's easy to relate it to residential, but there's niches within commercial real estate, not so much in Rochester. Like I'm the guy, so I lease a $300 a month office, or I can talk to you about a $4 million building. Our market's only so big. Phoenix, I imagine there's commercial real estate agents like me, and they do leasing of industrial properties. They do restaurant sales, they do investment sales. And so you could become the player within those niches within commercial real estate. And with digital strategies, you could probably rise to the top fairly quick. Especially, the cool thing about commercial, Dallas, is residential real estate is like ahead of the game. Commercial, we're a bunch of old guys and gals when it comes to this stuff, like for the most part, because we're just starting to recognize the opportunities that are on the internet. And so there's a lot of opportunity in many markets. I want to ask you this question. We talk about being the guy or the girl, right, within that market. Now I'm seeing there's a company called The Square Foot, and I think they're in New York. And they're building a brokerage without any personalities from what I can tell. What they're building the brokerage on is they're building it on a website that has inventory for leasable space. And ultimately, if you're coming as a consumer, it looks like a LoopNet to you. It doesn't even have the personalities. It's like a search engine. Why? I don't know if you know the answer, but why are they doing this? It's changing the standard of the guy, the girl. It's here's your inventory. If you're interested, contact one of put an inquiry in, and it comes to our professionals. Are the leads more controllable? What the heck is going on there?
Do you know if they're seeing success? Are they actually growing?
It looks like it. They've been featured in Forbes. The CEO, I was just talking to my buddy Rich Hopen, R. Hopen on Snapchat, who's another great mind in commercial real estate. And he said the CEO is featured on Forbes. They've received funding as a tech company. So that's what they are, I guess. They're a tech company that is providing a tool that essentially the tool also needs agents. Oh, and I think the agents are on salary, unlike the standard of commission, like that's commercial real estate in general. So internet, I guess what I'm getting at is changing the business, which ultimately the leads are more controllable than they ever have been, right? So you can get attention easier with the internet with targeted advertising, digital marketing, compared to when there was no internet and you really had to go meet that person.
Right. So I haven't heard of this business. I'll have to check them out after this. So it'll be interesting to look at. It almost sounds kind of like a tuft and needle kind of situation where it's somebody maybe from outside of that industry, somebody who has traditionally not been in that space, sees an opportunity that they can do something completely differently to disrupt it, as the phrase is now, that gets thrown around all the time. And they're doing that through things like salary, which to me as a consumer who doesn't know the space, that makes me feel good because that makes me think it's not going to be this high pressure sales situation. Someone's going to try to get me into something that's not right for me. So there's a lot of tactics. Like I see stuff in my industry where I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense because I'm so deep in my industry. But then I say it to somebody else and they're like, well, yeah, that would make me feel way more comfortable going through that buying process. If I didn't think I was clicking on an ad, if I didn't think I was getting sold something I didn't want. So it might just be something where they are trying to be someone different, something more likable, even though they're removing the personalities, which is an interesting take on it. Usually you want to know the guy you're buying from and selling. That's usually where the currency's at right now. So that's interesting. We'll have to watch and see. Some people come up with great ideas. And on that note of like Forbes and stuff, like working in a full service agency with a really amazing PR department, it's so easy to game all of those things. It's so easy to get on Forbes. And I mean, you see me all over the place and I'm nobody special. We just have a PR department. It's just an engine. You just put something in one end and it shoots out the other end to all the platforms and websites. It's I mean, once you kind of see it from the inside, every like thing you see on the news, and like, you know that guy didn't earn that. Like earned media is so few and far between now that somebody with, like you said, funding like these guys have, they can just come out and say, here, here's money, give us a positive review or a review. It'll most likely be positive, and then we can then continue leveraging that. And what I usually do personally is called trading up the chain. I start with some small website, get them to pick something up, go to like the next step up guy and say, hey, did you see this guy cover this story? You should cover this story. And then you just keep trading up the chain until eventually, yeah, it's on like my article on entrepreneurial.com. That started as some blog that I can't even think of the name of that no one's probably ever read. But through 6 or 7 trades up the chain, it landed on entrepreneur.com and was the number 11 article of the month. So it never would have got there if I sent it to Entrepreneur just directly. So you need that traction ahead of time, which these guys are probably doing, and just word of mouth and just like you telling me there's something going on here. Now I got to go check them out, and I'm going to go to work on Monday and I'm going to tell people about this. And
got it.
That's just the cycle.
Interesting. This is a 3-part question, and there's no right or wrong answer, but if you're an individual agent like myself, you got a budget of $1,000. Twitter's obviously free and you're rocking it on Twitter. Snapchat, you're rocking it on. Facebook, kind of, you're doing okay. Website, all it is a landing page. And you want to continually grow as a personality within the market. What do you do with your $1,000? Where are you spending your $1,000? And I understand it can go everywhere, but from what you're seeing, what you know, where do you go? And how?
So I get asked this question almost every single day.
Don't you hate it?
I would say if I had $2 left, I would put both of those $2 in digital.
For sure.
So if you had $1,000 to spend on something, let's say that's $1,000 over 30 days. I would put, just very generically, of course, you have to look at what the competition levels are, what search volumes are, and what the engagement is around certain subjects. There's so much.
You say all that, and like, I'm not going to do that. I'm a commercial real estate agent. Like, the 4 things you just said, I have no idea what you're talking about. So, all right, I know they have this ad button on Facebook, and I can click advertise, and I can put my credit card in, and the money can be spent. Like, so I understand my market. Will that help me answer those questions that you're referring to, or do I really have to use a tool to dig in to understand more?
Right, and you probably just called me out on the thing like I struggle with the most. I take this for granted so much because I've been doing this forever, since the dawn of it, that I sometimes forget that it isn't common knowledge on how to do this stuff and what to look at. For someone who doesn't know, I would say the common misconception is for the last 10 years, everybody has treated digital like they used to treat traditional for the last 100 years. Everybody just wanted to go big. They wanted to get in front of as many people as they can. So what I would say is do the complete opposite, go completely narrow. You don't need to hit 1 million people in 30 days. You need to hit, 10 of the right person.
Mm-hmm.
So I would narrow down to the exact person you want to sell something to, whether it's the brands they align with, if they wear Lululemons and watch Desperate Housewives, if that's still on TV, I don't know. If they live in a home that is a $250,000 home and they drive a Lexus and they spend the weekends at the cabin, you need to know all of these things. And when you can identify those things, you can literally drop those exact things I just said into things like Facebook. Those are every single one of those are targeting options. So when you know that, place ads with messaging that makes sense to those people, and be very clear about what you want them to do. You want them to take some next step.
So commercial real estate, then, what I think of is most commercial real estate agents have listings, and you need to look at your listing inventory, and then you need to say who are the end users of this listing inventory, whether they're leasing or buying, and then I need to go to a platform that they're most likely on and targetable on and go after it, right? And I think what's interesting about commercial real estate is, well, Facebook, more and more people are on. Like I don't think you spend your money on Twitter. I don't think in a local market you're advertising your listing. I would think LinkedIn is probably a good place to target. Have you been spending any money with other companies on LinkedIn, or is it still foreign to you?
No, we actually do have several agencies, or several companies within our agency that are using LinkedIn right now. And I'm always proposing it. It's a tough sell, which is an interesting kind of dynamic I'm at. A lot of it's not always what's best for the business. It's what can I sell to the business? What will they buy into? LinkedIn's great when you're selling kind of business services. If you're selling like a copy repair service, you can target that front desk manager, the person, the gatekeeper that makes the decision on that. So I use LinkedIn when I need to target job titles, when I need to target like seniority within an industry, if I need to target competitor businesses, say I'm doing a recruitment campaign and trying to steal employees to someone else. So if targeting comes down to job-related targets, then LinkedIn's where I go, because those people are business-minded. They are looking to make some sort of business connection, and it's easier to plant that seed in that setting. If you send that same message out to Facebook, they're not in that mindset, so it just falls on deaf ears. So you have to understand the context of where you're placing that ad versus what the outcome needs to be.
And I think, again, it comes back to the listing. What type of listing do you have? And then you may be able to narrow it down to a job title. How about if you're just marketing yourself as a commercial real estate agent with that $1,000? Is LinkedIn a good strategy for marketing Bucky Beeman, commercial real estate agent of Rochester, Minnesota? Is that worth it? Or do you think, spend your money elsewhere?
That's interesting. What I would say, actually, since it's hard for me, like if you were to come to me as a business and ask me that, I would say it's hard for me to know when the intent of that person is that they actually need to go purchase a larger office building, or maybe it's a startup that needs an office. It's hard for me to find something that signals that intent. So what I would actually do is go to Google search ads and target phrases that are like larger commercial buildings, Rochester, or open commercial listings, Rochester, commercial listings, Rochester. All the different variations of that, I would use it through search, because search, that person's actually putting out into the world, this is what I want to see, so give it to me. LinkedIn, I don't know if that person is looking for a larger office building or looking to make a move or something. I don't know that through LinkedIn. I know it through search.
Well, and I think you're right on it as well there. Of your $1,000 you got, if you go through search, you can narrow it down to what they're searching versus trying to target a specific individual. And commercial real estate in general is behind on the times when it comes to digital marketing. So don't get narrow with that dollar in a specific platform that's very narrow in itself. Go a little bit more broad, hit the search. That's where people start. Commercial real estate consumers, that's where they start. They don't go to Twitter and say, I'm looking for a commercial real estate agent. Who should I hire? And the people that do, like, I want to meet those people because they're forward-thinking consumers and they probably got a cool-ass company. And the general consumer of commercial real estate starts on Google,
Right. What I usually recommend is, if we stick on that same $1,000 idea, is going back to those 3 buckets I talked about, invest a little bit in each of those. You do something to build the awareness. You could use LinkedIn to build the awareness of who you are and what you do, but I wouldn't use it for a channel to actually make that return. You're not looking to make your money back there. Then I would go to the next phase and I would use another channel in the middle, which is probably remarketing. So if they've been to your website, then there's served ads everywhere, because that has some sort of intent behind it. They've checked you out. They just haven't continued that engagement. So serve them a bunch of ads to pull them back. And maybe you start with the search there. But what I'm usually looking for is to invest certain amounts of dollars in each budget, or each bucket. And that last bucket is where I'm actually trying to make all of the other money back. A common thing that people fail on is they say, let's put all our money here in awareness, which is like display ads and billboards and things like that, and see if we get our money back. You're never going to get your money back there. You're only going to get your money back with conversion optimized messaging in places where people are ready to buy. And you have to move them there through other channels first before you can do that. So that $1,000, put it in a lot of different places. Just that final place is where you actually make that $1,000 back.
Cool. Thank you. What questions you got? I've been asking away because I'm interested in the digital world of it, in an industry that doesn't really utilize it.
Yeah. So, well, I guess maybe tell people what you're doing right now in terms of social. You're doing a better job of it than I am, because I'm so deep in like other people's businesses. I don't have much time left to do it for myself. But I see you out there all the time doing cool stuff. So tell people about that, what kind of results you're seeing, where you've struggled, where you've had success, all that good stuff.
There's a huge white space in commercial real estate of there's no influencers. There are, but they're very few. And so what I've been doing is just getting in the conversations of the people that do exist currently within the community of commercial real estate online. And when I say online, that's the world. Like, so I'm in conversations with people around the world within commercial real estate, my niche that I found I'm very extremely passionate about. And where I've met a majority of the people has been on Twitter, because within Twitter, I can go into a hashtag and see who's conversating around that hashtag. CRE is the popular commercial real estate one. CRE Tech is kind of up and coming, where places like the Square Foot that I shared about, Hightower, which is a new tool coming on, they are in those conversations. And then the people that are also within those conversations, I think it's I haven't really dove into this one, but prop tech, property tech, and that could be broader. It's not just commercial real estate. So I found other people in my community and met other people there. And then from there, I've been able to really get to know them within Snapchat. So Snapchat for me has allowed me to make my day, help me understand that my day has a lot of content around it. And it's empowered me to create that content on Snapchat because it's an extremely easy platform to do so. And then I can share those bits and pieces of my day on other platforms. I use it as like my native camera on my phone. No longer am I taking pictures through the iPhone app. I'm doing it all in Snapchat. And then even if I don't post it to my story that lives there for 24 hours before it completely goes away, I will download it to my phone and use it on other places, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram. So Snapchat for me has been like a blessing in disguise because, one, it's made me create content on the daily, which is awesome. And it's something I've always wanted to do, but I just never could figure out an easy way to do it. And then two, it's really allowed me to get to know people over just seeing their tweets, over just seeing them on Facebook. Like, literally, I just got off a phone call with Rich Hopen, who's from New Jersey, who I met within Twitter, and we have continually conversated. He's followed my day on Snapchat. I followed his day. And then now with the new Snapchat update, we made a FaceTime phone call within Snapchat. And we have a Sunday phone call every week, and we talk about, he's in New Jersey, so he's not too far away from New York. So he's seeing kind of the commercial real estate tech things that are happening. And I feel like I'm in the know because I'm talking to him and he's like right across the water from New York. And like he's, so it's really helped me build relationships on Snapchat, and it's been extremely fun in doing so. I'm excited to double down on Facebook. I think there's a lot of stuff going on Facebook. The guy I follow, you follow, Gary Vaynerchuk, who's like the man, he is killing it on Facebook. So I'm excited to see where I can take that. And I've also seen a residential realtor, Neil Mathwig, who I met on Twitter and now have got to know within Snapchat, and he's doing an awesome job on Facebook. He has the Onion Juice podcast, which is a podcast and also a Facebook page. He has his own personal business, Neil Mathwig, Real Estate Services out of Madison, Wisconsin, and he's doing Facebook Live videos. He's making it fun. He's bringing his family into it, and he's sharing about his passion. So thanks to Snapchat, I've gotten better at digital marketing. Thanks to getting better at digital marketing, I recognize that the opportunities are endless. Now I just got to figure out how the heck to balance this great opportunity of going into a place that there's not a lot of influencers and continually manage my client's business and build the world's best real estate firm ever, Realty Growth Incorporated. So that, it's a balancing act now. But like you, I'm fortunate, I'm young, and I like to work. So.
Yeah, I remember that when we first met. That's what we had in common. We just wanted to go, do. Like we didn't. I think so many people sit around and wait for these huge mass conversion events, and then they get involved, and it's way too late. Like when Vine, like I actually just had this conversation a couple days ago. Vine now is just about dead. Yeah, everybody's leaving, so everybody's like, ha, Vine didn't work out. We knew it all along. Which is true, but there was so many people on Vine while it was alive and kicking that did some amazing stuff and got so many eyeballs. that even now that they're gone with Vine, they kept those eyeballs wherever they went. So yeah, the platform changes all the time, but the people don't. If you have an audience here and you move, that audience moves with you if they're a real audience. So a lot of the trouble I have in an agency setting is I can't sell a business on Snapchat. I get it, you get it. The Fortune 500 company that I'm trying to sell a $400,000 monthly budget to does not understand that. They're not going to dedicate somebody to be on Snapchat all day every day if it doesn't show up in the bottom line. You can't look at Snapchat and say it made me X amount of dollars versus this much spend, so we're ahead 200%. Let's keep going. It doesn't work like that. But I understand it, and I know you understand it, and the people that understand it are just killing it on these platforms right now. And we just aren't going to see those mass conversion events right now. And I liked what you said about how you use your Snapchat content to feed your other channels. These businesses really fall on their faces when it comes to distribution. They're spending so many resources in making and creating content, whether it's blog posts or it's some sort of video content. They use it once and it's gone. What the ones that are winning, they're taking that video and they're cutting it up into 6-second clips, or they're overlaying quotes, or they're taking snapshots of it, screenshots of it, and putting some other quote on it, making GIFs out of it, and shooting this stuff out all over, and just continuing to drive views and eyeballs and shares and engagement around just single pieces of the content. And it seems so simple, but just people aren't getting it still.
Well, and you hit it on, like, your content can't be crap, right? I mean, I got it. I hope that I'm entertaining. I hope that I put out good stuff that people watch. According to the engagement I get, I think it's working. But at the same point, I can't get wrapped up in the details. Like, should I have wore a button-up shirt? Maybe. Should I on my Snapchat, not have messy hair sometimes? Maybe. Like, should I not? No. Like, you gotta go, because there's now more content than ever before. It no longer is just the radio, and that's the only platform. There's more and more platforms every day. So get after it, and that's what I'm trying to do. And it's cool because it's working. It genuinely is working.
Yeah, I mean, look at what we're doing right now. I think we did some Facebook message like 2 weeks ago, and we're like, hey, on this date, let's just do a show. And then like 2 days ago, I was like, okay, what's the name of the show? And you just sent me something. I'm like, perfect. We didn't discuss it. I was like, that's great, whatever. It's got a name. This morning, I took 10 minutes in Photoshop. Here's our logo. And then I sent you a link. Here's our YouTube channel. And like, here we are. Like, we didn't have to get 10 people in a room to brainstorm this. We didn't have to target our personas and outline our different audience members and come through our distribution channels. And we just did it. And maybe no one ever sees this, but it's just refining your craft. It's a craftsman mindset. We're doing this, so now I can be more educated when I go to a business and say that this is what you need to do. You know how to do this, so you can then set this up with now 8 other commercial real estate agents all over the country and start some big show. Like, it all starts somewhere, but you just have to start, which is what we're doing, and people aren't doing it. It drives me crazy every day.
Well, and thanks for bringing this conversation, because one thing I'm passionate about is digital marketing, and one thing I'm passionate about is commercial real estate. And with this collision, I think there's continued conversations that can go, because there's no one necessarily taking the lead of saying, how the heck can we use digital marketing to commercial real estate and make it work hand in hand? It's happening in residential. I'm not seeing it online in commercial. So.
Yeah, and I think it's just, okay, so here's what I don't like to rely on statistics, because that just never works when you're pitching a client. But it's just, if you look at the statistics, everything traditional is just nosediving, like at scary rates. And as the current social audience grows up, those numbers are just going to fall off a cliff. I know right now the average human being spends about 4 hours a day watching TV, but they spend 6 to 7 hours a day on an internet-connected device. Yet 80% of all marketing budget is still on TV. Only 20% goes to digital. It just doesn't make sense. So the businesses that find this, like, take the chance, basically. You call it taking a chance, but it's not. It's just doing what's right. It's marketing like the year we live in, which is what Gary Vaynerchuk always says. It's no longer an option to ignore this digital stuff. It doesn't make, just because you don't get it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
Right. And like, more and more people have these in their hands. I somehow got my dad to be on Snapchat and my mom to be on Snapchat, and now they love it because they can keep up with their son and what he's doing throughout the day. Like, I'm the start of families across the world and how they're going to interact with it's just where it's headed. I no longer have cable. I have a computer hooked up to my TV so I can go onto YouTube and watch YouTube. Like, I'm sure you're similar in the way that you're taking in content.
Yeah, and I think it's called, I don't know what it's actually called, but I think it's called the gramification of social media. I mean, it happens in cycles, right? Like, Facebook came out, it was college only. That's what the platform was founded on. And then they put that down, their numbers went up like crazy. And then all of a sudden those 19 and 20-year-old college kids were 24, 25, had kids, posting pictures of their kids, mom, dad, grandma joined the network. Now the younger generation is out, they're somewhere else. But the cycle keeps happening over and over again. So just pay attention. I have a 4-year-old son. He's not going to know what a desktop computer looks like. He gets on his tablet. It's strictly voice search. He can find anything he ever wants to watch right on YouTube. It's crazy. Every business he's going to find, which actually I'm going to now go on a tangent real quick. We were just naming a business at the agency I work for, and it was so frustrating to me to listen to when we're all brainstorming ideas for the name of the business. That phonetically, so the name, I don't want to say the name of the business, but it's misspelled. It's not how you say the name is not how you actually spell it as far as the brand name goes. So what they're going to run into is now people are going to be speaking directions to business name, and Google's going to say, I can't find that business.
Got it.
They're going to get frustrated, and they're going to go somewhere else. And I was trying to get this point across. It's 2016. Do not recommend a client open a business that has a name you cannot search. It's as simple as that. Cortana, Siri, Amazon Echo, all of these personal search assistants coming out is what businesses need to focus on. Yes, that's a random tangent, but voice search.
Great point. I didn't think of it. I mean, that's an awesome point. Awesome point, because, wow, that's the way the world is headed. Well, I think we should wrap it up, and let's try to wrap it up in maybe a couple ways. So I'm going to say a couple people that I think people should look to in commercial real estate, if that's what they're interested in online, that are doing an awesome job, and I should look them up online so I say their name correctly. And then maybe, do you have anything you want to share, kind of to wrap it up as far as what you think?
Yeah, I would say, while you're looking that up, I don't have like people to recommend, because digital marketing is complete. It's kind of rogue. Like, there's not like a lot of personalities around it.
Besides Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, he kind of just owns that world. And so no one else is allowed in. So I would say maybe a couple of things that I would tell people to go look at within the next week or two, with trends that are happening. Like I said, I think the personal search assistants are going to be huge. Everybody, basically, when Facebook, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Netflix, when everybody at the same time moves on one subject, there's no need for businesses smaller than those 5 to wait around to see if it works. They know it's going to work, and even if it doesn't make sense, they're going to market it to a point that it's going to work. So they're all moving to this voice search that I just talked about. Mm-hmm. What's actually happening is websites are being completely replaced. All of these assistants, all they're doing is pulling data from the websites and feeding it through voice to you. So what's happening is the websites are less and less important every single day. And what's becoming more important is apps and how those apps integrate with these new search assistants. So that's something I would tell businesses to really look at. Basically, Google's trying to crush a website. They're trying to get rid of all websites right now and just move to app-based platforms. So I would look at that for your business.
App. All right. I mentioned Rich Hopen. Handle is R Hopen. I'll put it on the comments. And then Julie Augustine. She is another great mind in commercial real estate that I've met mainly through Twitter. And then I'm going to mention another one because this guy's good too. Ryan Dennis Live. Ryan Dennis Live is another young professional in commercial real estate that is putting out great content around CRE tech, property tech, and commercial real estate in general. And then technologies in commercial real estate, CRE tech that I think is on the come up. Build Out is a tool that is solving a big pain within commercial real estate of listing properties on multiple channels as everybody comes up with a new channel to list on all the time. And I'm kind of interested, thanks to a gentleman by the name of AJ Monopetit, I think is how you say his last name. He brought up Matterport. Matterport is for like three-dimensional tours of properties. You buy a camera, you can do the three-dimensional tour. It gives a Google kind of view. But I think if you do it now, are you going to be ahead of the curve? So when these headsets, what are they called, VR come, you already have your tours created because you started doing them now. So I can say, Dallas, put on your VR and you can check out this space, and why don't we just digitally sign the lease right now? You don't even need to come to Rochester. Like, let's just get it done. What are you waiting for? So
right.
Yeah.
That's gonna be interesting to see. I definitely am a believer in the same thing. When all the major companies move on it, no reason to sit around and wait for everybody else to take advantage of that land grab. Just go with them. You don't need to wait for reports to come out. You don't need to wait for all that stuff. Just do it. Yeah, so that's I guess let's wrap it up here. Again, like, I don't know. Again, we're just doing this, so I have no idea where this even shows up or how anybody is ever going to find it or how they're going to see it if they didn't see it live. But that's just part of this exploratory thing we're doing, which is perfect. So that's it for me. Bucky, what do you got?
I'm signing out, but let's do the conversation again, and let's stay in touch because I got a lot of value. And if people have ideas, concepts, feedback, good or bad, let us know because that just helps us get better. So
cool. See you
Thanks.
later, Bucky. We'll share this somewhere.
All right. Enjoy Phoenix, and I will enjoy Minnesota.
Have fun. See ya.
Later.